Well, I am going to get started. It's 12:01. Hello, everyone. Good afternoon to you on the East Coast, and good morning to you on the West Coast and Mid Coast. I'm Jenny Jenkins, Executive Program Director for the Plan Sponsor University, and we're so excited to have you guys here today. We've got an amazing program lined up for you, as today we're going to cover important things that you need to know, and also why knowing the unknown is essential, because not knowing what you're doing wrong can hurt you and your employees. So, just a few housekeeping notes. For our qualified plan sponsors, we're asking you to please stay to the very end of our presentation. We will be getting you your free cup of Joe. And we also have a surprise at the end, as the Plan Sponsor University always over delivers. So we've got a surprise at the end. So if you stay to the end, you'll get that. We've arranged for a few minutes of Q&A at the end. So I'm sure you'll have questions. And if so, we'll be happy to take them and get those answers to you. And of course, we'll have a PDF of this presentation in the chat right at the end of this event so that you'll be able to have it with you. So now it's my absolute pleasure to introduce our CEO and founder of TPSU, Fred Barstein. Fred is the founder and CEO of the Retirement Advisor University in collaboration with UCLA's Anderson School of Management. In addition, founder and CEO of the Plan Sponsor University and 401k TV. Fred is also a contributing editor for wealthmanagement.com's leading media platform for financial advisors. A little background on his TPSU programs, our TPSU programs. We've completed over 600 programs and trained more than 12,000 plan sponsors. And in addition to this extensive background that Fred holds, he's also got his law degree. So without further ado, please join me in welcoming Fred Barstein.
Happy to be here from everyone. This 401k cafe is becoming very popular. If it's because it's only 30 minutes or because we give away coffee to qualified plan sponsors. Either way, we are thrilled to have you. And I am really thrilled to have with us Jania Stout, who is going to go through the 10 things that plan sponsors get wrong or don't do right. She just presented at a TPSU at Denver, really, actually last month in May, and had such a great response. We thought this would be a great topic for us to talk about at 401k Cafe. I don't have any written bio on Jania because I know her so well. She's and I collaborated and worked together for a long, long time, over 20 years. And it would actually take me about 30 minutes to go through all the things. But Jania has been recognized by a number of organizations, NAPA, Plan Sponsor Magazine, Plan Advisor, Institutional Investor, as one of the leading, if not the leading advisor, retirement plan advisor in the country. Started her own practice after working for a couple of providers, little known one, Fidelity and ADP, and sold her practice and joined One Digital a few years ago, and then just recently took on the position of the president of Prudent Capital Financial, their retirement group, which is very significant, has about 60 advisors. So she leads that group. And she is a lecturer along with a number of the prime capital advisors for TPSU in Connecticut, in Denver, in Texas, and a number of other zones that we have. So we're very, very happy and grateful to be welcoming Jania Stout to our 401k Cafe. So Jania, it is all yours.
All right. Thank you, Fred. And thank you all for joining this great segment here. I'm a very positive person, so it even pains me sometimes to say the title is The 10 Things You're Still Doing Wrong, which is why I add or not doing right. That's kind of more the positive spin. But I'm going to cover these 10 things in about 20 minutes. So it's kind of like speed dating a little bit. But hopefully, if you're listening, you'll get a couple of nuggets of things. As Fred said, I've been in this industry for almost 30 years, working with plan sponsors my entire career. And a lot of these things are have been on this list for my entire career. And some of that is because it might be a newer employer, or you might have just gotten the role of, hey, this retirement plan is your baby now. So I'm going to kind of dive into it now, which is really makes a lot of sense from the fiduciary training. The first mistake we still see quite a bit is not understanding the scope of fiduciary duty. And what I mean by that is, the basics of who is a fiduciary, and understanding what your roles are. I like to kind of summarize it into an easier description, which is, under ERISA, there are kind of the 4 pillars of fiduciary duty. One of those pillars is the prudence pillar. And it says that you must act as a prudent expert. And many of you that might be listening, you might say, well, gosh, I'm head of benefits, or I'm the CFO of the company. I don't know if I qualify as a prudent expert when it comes to all things ERISA. And so that is why I think, a lot of times it's suggested that if you can't act as a prudent expert, you should rely on one, which is really where fiduciary advisors get into the mix. But prudence I would look at prudence on making sure, the investments are appropriate for your employees. And I always like to describe it this way. Think about it. Your employees are entrusting you, the plan sponsor, to go and find a record keeper, to go and put together a fund lineup of appropriate investments that they can then, when they defer money into the plan, they're entrusting you to make sure that you vet it out, to make sure you've got the right partners in place. Under the prudence pillar, that's going to be where you're doing your committee meetings. You're either doing it yourself, or you're relying on your partners to do the due diligence on the investments. Another pillar is going to be the loyalty pillar. And really, that's the foundation of fiduciary duty. That is where every decision you make needs to be made in the best interest of the participant or the employee that's offered the plan. So think about when you're making decisions on hiring a record keeper, utilizing one target date fund over another. You have to make those decisions to the benefit. It's always got to be built under the loyalty, being loyal to your participant. And, that's why you want to make sure that you've got good partners and you understand what those decisions are being made and why they're being made. And most importantly, you're documenting those decisions. If you look at a lot of the litigation that's gone on over the last few decades, it's amazing when you see large plans, billion-dollar plans, that maybe never documented why they chose this target date fund, or why they chose to make the default be the target date funds. So a lot of times when you pull up the covers and you read about these cases, it's not necessarily that there's a right or wrong decision. It's just, did you actually, review it and make a decision that was made in the best interest of the participant? So documentation is important. Plan diversification is another one of those pillars. And this is the one I always say that ERISA gives you. It's kind of like the freebie that is given. It's very hard these days to see a plan where you don't have good diversification. I've been in this industry long enough where I've seen it ebb and flow, meaning when I first started almost 30 years ago, we had this is when really 401ks were really starting to take off. And we'd have 401k plans where you had 3 or 5 investments. So not a lot of choice. It was, some stock funds, some bond funds, and a money market. And then, the industry started taking off. So everybody was like trying to add tons of options. So we went from small amounts to like large fund lineups with hundreds of funds in a plan, right? And so I would say in that case, we had lots of diversification options. Then the litigation started, and I think plan sponsors and advisors got smarter and understood the responsibility more. And we recognized that it's really hard to show prudence when you have 100 fund options, right? Like, are you sure all 100 options are prudent investment choices? So then we started those lineups started to come down. So generally, it's probably now we're seeing maybe 20-ish options in the plan, but we certainly, under the diversification pillar, it says that you must offer your employees the opportunity to diversify against large losses. So if you only offered a stock fund or 3 stock funds and that's it, you certainly couldn't diversify as an employee. But that's why it's a freebie, because I have probably in my entire career only seen one time where a plan didn't offer the proper diversification options. The 4th pillar is what I would call the plan document pillar. And this is the one that's going to get most of you, because the chances of you all, and I don't even know who all is listening, but the chances of most plan sponsors getting sued in a class action suit is probably, pretty slim. But on the plan document side, this is where it gets hairy, because it says that you must follow the terms of your document. That is a fiduciary duty that sometimes is overlooked by a committee. So you want to make sure you have really good plan administration. You want to make sure that you as a plan sponsor and the committee understands the terms of the document. That does not mean that the entire committee needs to know every single provision in the plan. But in general, you want to know that whoever does have the responsibility of administrating the plan, that it's being done properly. And the way you can do that, the way we do it at Prime Capital is, on the onset of a new relationship, we go through a plan document review. And we say, okay, this is what your document says. Is this what you're doing operationally? And we kind of go down the list. You want to either lean on your record keeper or lean on your advisor, or in a perfect world, both, to make sure you're following the document.
And Genia, it's hard to hear you, so if you could talk up or turn up.
Oh, sure.
And I also remind you that you're supposed to do 10 in 20 minutes, and you're on 1, and you have 10 minutes. So just to give you a timer on that, it's up to you how you want to do it.
All right, thanks, Brad. Can you guys hear me better now? I'm going to just lean forward. Hopefully that's better.
Yeah, just talk up if you can.
Okay. All right. So the document pillar is really the one you want to make sure you understand the document. Failing to monitor plan investments. Under ERISA, it doesn't necessarily say how often you should monitor it. There is, I think, best practices. If you're a larger plan, you want to maybe be monitoring the investments at least twice a year, if not quarterly. If you're a smaller plan, you could do it at least annually, but given the certain volatility in the marketplace, you might want to do that at least twice a year at a minimum. It doesn't tell you how often you should do it. It just says you should monitor it and make sure that the investments are still prudent. And if there's a lot of volatility going on in the marketplace, you might need to increase the amount of times that you're doing that. Oops. Lack of understanding fees and fee structures. We, as an industry, have not made it easy for plan sponsors. it's difficult sometimes to understand who's getting paid what. So, there are some things that occurred. The fee disclosure regulations that came out, maybe 10 years ago, made it easier for plan sponsors to understand what are the fees in our plan. But and they do that through the participants get a 404A notice, which defines all the fees in a plan. And then you, the plan sponsor, should be getting from your partners a 408B2 notice. Those two documents will at least are a good starting point to say, what are our fees? And if you don't understand those documents, just ask. I think, having a good spreadsheet that just goes to the partners and says, what are you getting paid? What are you doing for those services? And then you as a plan sponsor need to understand, are those fees reasonable? So make sure that if you're new to the role that of overseeing the plan, just ask the people to make it clear to you so that you understand what the fees are. On the fee structure side, there are a couple of ways to structure fees. You could, on the record keeping side, they might charge a percentage of assets. And that way, like if, let's say 25 basis points or 0.25% of the assets in the plan, that's what the record keeper gets. But you could also have a flat per participant fee. And there is not necessarily a right or wrong way of doing it. There has been lawsuits around this. So my recommendation is that this is discussed in the committee meetings on fee structure and say, okay, here's our fees. This is how we apply the fees to the participants. Do we want to look at doing a per head fee, or do we want it to be a percentage of assets? And because we don't have enough time here, I would go into detail on what is good or bad on each of those approaches. But your takeaway should just be, make sure you're talking about it and documenting why that decision was made. Not conducting independent benchmarking and or an RFP. So there are some great benchmarking tools out there today that many advisors and even record keepers use to share back with their clients on, are our fees reasonable? And it's very complex because if you have automatic enrollment, you have 10 different payroll feeds, your fee structure reasonableness might be different than a safe harbor plan that is small and there aren't a lot of moving parts. So it's not like if you pay one fee, that's how it should be. So you've got to do benchmarking. And then an RFP is something that I think is important. If you look at some of these litigation lawsuits, the plaintiff's attorneys were suggesting that benchmarking alone might not necessarily, that only tells you what everybody is already paying. An RFP is a good process to go through to see what the current market rates are. And I would also say, just because you go through an RFP doesn't mean you have to make a change. But if you do go through an RFP, it's a good way to see what's out there and compare vendors and partners. But if the data shows that somebody else had better value, then you have to also be prepared to make a change if that's the way you want to go. But remember, you don't have to go with the cheapest. It just means that you should be able to show that you did the benchmarking and you selected your partner based on the value to your participant. Overlooking plan operational failures. This goes under that document pillar that I talked about. And we all have problems in 401. Every 401k has a problem. It's just when you find it, right? And then you'll fix this one problem and another one pops up. It might happen because you changed payroll vendors. And when you did that, the putting the definition of comp might not have been loaded properly. There could be a lot of reasons. Maybe you made an amendment to your plan, and then operationally you didn't change it. So these failures happen. You want to make sure you address those failures as soon as possible. And having good partners, whether it's your advisor or your record keeper, to help you understand, can I self-correct this? Do I have to file with a voluntary correction? But the more you overlook it, it becomes a bigger and bigger problem. And that's why I recommend that you do a plan document operational review. It's something that I think, we've been doing with our clients that really uncovers, do we have any issues? And then how do we address them? Lack of fiduciary training of committee members. The Department of Labor came out a couple years ago and really gave guidance and comments about making sure committee members were trained on what fiduciary duty means. And that can be accomplished a lot of ways. Obviously, TPSU, coming to a TPSU event is an excellent way to get fiduciary training. As Fred mentioned, I've been doing TPSU as an adjunct lecturer for decades. And I've seen clients of mine send their entire committee through a TPSU event. So that's one way to do it. Make sure your advisor at the committee level is doing some ongoing training. If you have new committee members, you want to onboard them, help them understand what the committee was doing over the past few years. And there's a lot of ways to do that, but then also make sure they understand what their responsibilities are, because there is personal liability. If there were a lawsuit, you can be named personally. And there's ways to mitigate that too, but you want to make sure everybody that's a voting member understands the degree of fiduciary duty. For cybersecurity oversight of the plan, this is kind of a newer, this was a new addition to my list over the last maybe 5 years. We have started to see lawsuits around cybersecurity. This is in the retirement plan industry. This is a place where those hackers are going to try to get in and take over assets. So the DOL also released tips that you should be using to ensure that your record keeping partners or anyone that has access to personal data, that you're following it. So for example, we do an RFI to every record keeper based on the DOL tips. And then we show the RFI results at a committee meeting, and then we document that. So you want to make sure that you're asking the right questions. And the DOL, anytime the DOL makes suggestions, my advice is you should implement them because it does help protect you in the long run. So cybersecurity is really important, making sure your employees also know what they should be doing. Fred, did you have something? Oh, okay. Not monitoring service providers. This is, just make sure that every provider you have, whether it's your advisor, your auditor, if you have a pension plan, your actuary, your administrators, are they delivering what their service agreement said? And you could do that partly through an RFP, but also just get them involved. I think the best run plans are when all partners are working together. Mistake number 9, which is my favorite, which is overestimating the power of defaults. So I know that automatic enrollment was a game changer in our industry. When the Pension Protection Act got passed, it gave plan sponsors that fiduciary safe harbor to do auto enrollment. And we have seen a dramatic shift in number of people participating in plans. But what I would tell you is, do not think that that's going to solve it alone. We want to make sure, and an interesting example of this is we do a financial wellness survey every year. And what's interesting is most of our clients have automatic enrollment. Well, participants, when we ask them, like, do you feel like you're on track? Are you invested appropriately, etc.? A lot of them said, I don't know if I'm on track or if I'm invested appropriately or if I'm saving the right number. So our auto solutions got people in, but we didn't solve the problem. Did we take stress away from them? Which leads to the final mistake number 10, which is not providing enough participant education. So under ERISA, it says that you must properly educate and communicate the plan to your participants. But they don't tell you what does that mean, right? We've got our partners, our record keeping partners that have all kinds of disclosures and brochures, but there's all this legal jargon in there. So make sure you're working with a good partner that helps doing ongoing education, even if you have an automatic enrollment plan, because people are stressed out about other things, not just about their investments. They're stressed out about debt, the tariffs, inflation, whatever it is. The more you can help your employees be educated on fees and structure and plans and in general, the less likely they're going to call the DOL when they get terminated, let's say, because they're upset. And now they call the DOL because they're angry at the plan sponsor. That's why most of those DOL investigations, or not most, but a lot of them happen from disgruntled employees. So the more that you help educate the participant, the better off you'll be. So with that, I think I hit the 20 minutes and did the 10 things. Fred, any questions?
We've had a few, but I think we answered some of them online, and only 2 or 3 minutes over, so that is very good. So we're very happy with that. We did have people asking for the presentation. We will send that out to everyone. And one person asked, how do I see the extended version of this? So number one, look for Jania when she does a TPSU. But we also, if she's willing to go through, and we can set up an appointment privately with her. And when we do follow up with you and give you the coffee certificate, we will ask if you would like to have something set up privately with Jania. I'm sure she'd be happy to do that on that. So with that, I am going to turn the program over to Agnes. Agnes is in charge of all of our educational recruiters, and she is the one responsible for getting people to the TPSU programs, as well as setting up meetings with me on the RPA due diligence, as well as our retirement committee program. So Agnes, it's all yours.
Thank you, Fred. My team and I speak with plan sponsors every day, so we really hear about their challenges. And it seems like everyone is always busy wearing many different hats, so there is a lack of time as well as proper guidance, especially regarding their retirement advisors. So as Jania mentioned, one of the most important fiduciary responsibilities under ERISA is conducting documented due diligence on your RPA. Even if you have a good or great advisor, conducting a full RFP periodically is essential. But here's the challenge. Your current advisor can't objectively evaluate themselves. So that's really where TPSU comes in. We are a fully independent and trusted source, having educated over 10,000 plan sponsors since 2013. Our due diligence solution streamlines the entire RFP process, making it simple, efficient, and fully compliant. So the way it works is that TPSU manages the full process on your behalf. We provide a transparent side-by-side comparison of 5 to 7 top-tier retirement advisors. From there, you choose who you'd like to interview. Based on those interviews and the comparison analysis, the plan sponsor is then equipped to make a well-informed decision. We also provide documentation confirming that the due diligence process has been completed in compliance with ERISA requirements. So in short, RPADD gives you the confidence that you're getting the best fit and value without the burden of managing the process alone.
Yes. Do you want to go over, or Jenny, I'll let you do that. You always say we over deliver. If we can go back one slide, Jenny, we're not ready about, yeah, so you want to talk about Trace, Jenny?
Sure, awesome. And thank you, Agnes. Thank you so much. And as promised, I mentioned in the beginning, TPSU does always over deliver. So not only will you qualified plan sponsors get your digital gift card for your cup of joe, but we're also going to give you complimentary access to the retirement committee education. This is a $400 value, and it's an online course which features three continuing credit hours for SHRM and HRCI, and it gives you the step-by-step process for your retirement committee to truly follow suit with what Jania and Fred had been talking about. And of course, we're also going to be reaching out to you to help you sign up for a brief meeting with Fred or Jania to learn more about the RPADD process and why it's required by ERISA, and just kind of to process your questions. All you have to do to learn a little bit more is you can scan this QR code here and fill out the form at the bottom, or email Agnes or call her. You can see her phone number is listed there, and she'll be more than happy to help set up an appointment with Fred and Janya. Um, so we can go to the next slide. So TPSU has got lots coming up. We just had Rollins yesterday. What a turnout it was. Even in the rain in Orlando, we had upwards of 30 people and had excellent conversations. People were staying to the bitter end, and then thereafter having conversations with our advisor about what next steps they should take. Tomorrow we'll be at Stonehill College. On June 11th, of course, we'll be at DeSales. And then, last but not least, and lots more to come, August 12th will be at SMU in Dallas. You can find all this information on tpsuniversity.com, and or you can scan this QR code to learn more about the upcoming sessions that we have coming up. And so, final closing thoughts. I just wanted to say thank you again for joining us. And please definitely look for your digital gift card for your qualified plan sponsors to get your cup of joe. And mark your calendars for our next event will be on June 4th, and we'll be excited to see you there. Just want to hand it back over.
Yeah, so June
I'm
4th
sorry.
is today.
Sorry,
So our
excuse
next
me,
event,
July 2nd. July
we're
2nd. I'm sorry,
July
July 2nd.
2nd. And we just try to do the first Wednesday of every month, where possible. And then we will also be following up with an email about getting access to the Trace courses. So Agnes will be following up and also asking for those of you who are interested, meeting with Jania to go over the full presentation. So thank you, Jenny. Thank you, everyone. And we look forward to seeing you at a TPSU program near you. We do have virtual options as well as the next 401k Cafe. Thank you.
Thanks,
Yeah.
everyone.